I'm Mrs. Quick, fourth grade science. Snow. The first snow of winter hit right before Thanksgiving break. School was closed, so we got an extra day of vacation. I was glad about that because I was so bummed about that whole August thing, and I just wanted some time to chill without having to see him every day. Also, waking up to a snow day is just about my favorite thing in the world. I love that feeling when you first open your eyes in the morning and you don't even know why everything seems different than usual. Then it hits you, everything's quiet. No cars honking, no buses going down the street. Then you run over to the window and outside everything is covered in white. The sidewalks, the trees, the cars on the street, your window panes. And when that happens on a school day and you find out your school is closed, well, I don't care how old I get. I'm always going to think that that's the best feeling in the whole world. And I'm never going to be one of those grown-ups that use an umbrella when it's snowing. Never. Dad's school was closed, too, so he took me and Jamie sledding down Skeleton Hill in the park. They say a little kid broke his neck while sledding down that hill a few years ago, but I don't know if that's actually true or just one of those legends. On the way home, I spotted this banged-up wooden sled kind of propped up against an old Indian rock monument. Dad said to leave it. It was just garbage. But something told me it would make the greatest sled ever. So Dad let me drag it home, and I spent the rest of the day fixing it up. I superglued the broken slats together and wrapped some heavy-duty white duct tape around them for extra strength. Then I spray painted the whole thing white with the paint I'd gotten for the alabaster sphinx I was making for my Egyptian museum project. When it was all dry, I painted lightning and gold letters in the middle piece of wood, and I made a little lightning bolt symbol above the letters. It looked pretty professional. I have to say, Dad was like, "Wow, Jackie, you were right about the sled." The next day we went to Skeleton Hill with lightning. It was the fastest, and then all of a sudden this picture flew into my head, this memory, and I knew what summer had meant by bleeding scream. It's so weird how it all just came back to me in this flash. Someone in my homeroom had dressed up in a bleeding scream costume on Halloween. I remember seeing him a few desks away from me, and then I remember not seeing him again. Oh man, it was August. All of this hit me in science class when the teacher was talking. Oh man, I'd been talking to Julian about August. Oh man, now I understood. I was so mean. I don't even know why. I'm not even sure what I said, but it was bad. It was only a minute or two. It's just what I knew Julian and everybody thought. And I was so weird for hanging out with August all the time. And I felt stupid. And I don't know why I said that stuff. I was just going along. I was stupid. I am stupid. Oh, God. He was supposed to come as Boba Fett. I would never have said that stuff in front of Boba Fett. But that was him. That bleeding scream sitting at the desk looking over at us. The long white mask with the fake squirting blood. The mouth wide open, like the ghoul was crying. That was him. I felt like I was going to puke. Fortune favors the bold. Mr. Brown's December precept was, "Fortune favors the bold." We were all surprised to write a paragraph about some time in our lives when we did something very brave and how, because of it, something good happened to us. I thought about this a lot, to be truthful. I have to say that I think the bravest thing I ever did was become friends with August. But I couldn't write about that, of course. I was afraid we'd have to read those out loud, or Mr. Brown would put them up in the bulletin board like he does sometime. So instead, I wrote this lame thing about how I used to be afraid of the ocean when I was little. It was dumb, but I couldn't think of anything else. I wonder what August wrote about. He probably had a lot of things to choose from. Private school. My parents were not rich. I say this because people sometimes think that everyone who goes to private school is rich, but that isn't true with us. Dad's a teacher, Mom's a social worker, which means they don't have these kinds of jobs where people make gazillions of dollars. We used to have a car, but we sold it when Jamie started kindergarten at Beecher Prep. We don't live in a big townhouse or one of those doorman buildings along the park. We live on the top floor of a 5-story walk-up we rent from an old lady named Doña Petra, all the way on the other side of Broadway. That's code for the section of the North River Heights where people don't want to park their cars. Me and Jamie share a room. I overhear my parents talk about things like, can we do without an air conditioner one more year? Or maybe I could work 2 jobs this summer. So today at recess, I was hanging out with Julian and Henry and Miles. Julian, who everyone knows is rich, was like, I hate that I have to go back to Paris this Christmas. It's so boring. Dude, but it's Paris. Like Paris, I said like an idiot. Believe me, it's so boring, he said. My grandmother lives in this house in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Paris in this tiny, tiny, tiny village. I swear to God, nothing happens there. I mean, it's like, oh well, there's another fly on the wall. Look, there's a new dog sleeping on the sidewalk. Yippee. I laughed. Sometimes Julian can be so funny. Though my parents are talking about throwing a big party this year instead of going to Paris. I hope so. What are you going to do over the break? Said Julian. Just hanging out, I said. You're so lucky, he said. I hope it snows again, I answered. I got this new sled that's so amazing. I was about to tell them about lightning, but Miles started talking first. I got a new sled too, he said. My dad, he got it from Hamacher Schlimmer. It's a state-of-the-art. How can a sled be a state-of-the-art? Said Julian. It was like $800 or something like that. Whoa. We should all go sledding and have a race down Skeleton Hill, I said. That hill is so lame, answered Julian. Are you kidding? I said. Some kid broke his neck there. That's why it's called Skeleton Hill. Julian narrowed his eyes and looked at me like I was the biggest moron in the world. It's called Skeleton Hill because it was an ancient Indian burial ground. Duh, he said. Anyway, it should be called Garbage Hill now. It's so freaking junky. Last time I was there, it was so gross, like with soda cans and broken bottles and stuff. He shook his head. I left my old sled there, said Miles. It was the crappiest piece of junk, and somebody actually took it, too. Maybe a hobo wanted to go sledding, laughed Julian. Where'd you leave it? I asked. By the big rock at the bottom of the hill, and I went back the next day and it was gone. I couldn't believe somebody actually took it. Here's what we can do, said Julian. Next time it snows, my dad can drive us all up to this golf course in Westchester that makes Skeleton Hill look like nothing. Hey, Jack, where are you going? I had started to walk away. I've got to get a book out of my locker, I lied. I just want to get away from them fast. I didn't want anybody to know that I was the hobo who had taken the sled. In science. I'm not the greatest student in the world. I know some kids actually like school, but I honestly can't say I do. I like some parts of school, like PE and computer class, and lunch and recess. But all in all, I'd be fine without school. And the thing I hate the most about school is all the homework we get. It's not enough that we have to sit through class after class and try to stay awake while they fill our heads with all the stuff we'll probably never need to know. Like how to figure out the surface area of a cube, or what the difference is between kinetic and potential energy. I'm like, who cares? I've never ever heard my parents say the word kinetic in my entire life. I hate the science the most of all my classes. We get so much work, it's not even funny. And the teacher, Ms. Rubin, is so strict about everything, even the way we write our headings at the top of the papers. I once got 2 points off a homework assignment because I didn't put the date at the top. Crazy stuff. When me and August were friends, I was doing okay in science because August sat next to me and always let me copy his notes. August has the neatest handwriting of anybody I've ever seen who's a boy. Even his script is neat, up and down perfectly, with really small, round, loopy letters. But now that we're ex-friends, it's bad because I can't ask him to let me copy his notes anymore. So I kind of scrambling today, trying to take notes about what Ms. Rubin was saying. My handwriting's awful. When all of a sudden she started talking about 5th grade science fair projects, how we had to all choose a science fair project to work on. While she was saying this, I was thinking, we just finished the freaking Egypt project. Now we have to start a whole new thing? And then in my head I was going, oh no! Like that kid in Home Alone with his mouth hanging open and his hands on his face. That was the face I was making on the inside. And then I thought of those pictures of melting ghost faces I've seen somewhere where the mouths are open wide and they're screaming. This thing I'd ever ridden. So much faster than that plastic disc we'd been using. And because it had gotten warmer outside, the sun had become crunchier and wetter. Good packing snow. Me and Jamie took turns on lightning all afternoon. We were in the park until our fingers were frozen and our lips had turned a little blue. Dad practically had to drag us home. By the end of the weekend, the snow had started turning gray and yellow, and then a rainstorm turned most of the snow into slush. When we got back to school on Monday, there was no snow left. It was rainy and yucky the first day back from vacation. A slushy day. That's how I was feeling inside too. I nodded, "Hey," to August the first time I saw him. We were in front of the lockers. He nodded, "Hey," back. I wanted to tell him about lightning, but I didn't.